Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest installment of And Sarah Appeared. My name is Sarah, and it appears that there has been some lies being told about the Little Mermaid. Okay, so I just went to the Little Mermaid. I think it was on like Sunday night, but we did a late night show, me and my mom, and we went and saw the Little Mermaid. I was pleasantly surprised. Let me tell you something. The Little Mermaid reminded me of Brandy's version of Cinderella. And the reason why is because there was so much diversity and inclusion of like every race placed in that movie. I was pleasantly and thoroughly surprised because I saw representation. That's A. B, the remake didn't suck. I'm sorry. Like, the way that they did it, it didn't suck. And that means a lot to me because I'm so sorry. But there's a lot of remakes that get made in Hollywood that are just like, there is no point of you doing this. It's like, this is not, this, you could have left the original just the way it was. The Little Mermaid remake was actually good because of the live action dialogue, the sequences that were actually in the film. It was a storyline that was not convoluted. It was something that stayed true to the story, but with a twist. I don't want to give away spoiler alerts, but there was it was something that kept my attention, and it could keep the attention of people of all ages. And it was pleasant. And I loved how they incorporated like hip hop and pop and different things in it. Like, there was different cultures represented. And that's why I was like, why is there so much backlash over this young lady playing Ariel? When, first of all, if you saw a mermaid in real life, you wouldn't be alive to tell it. Second of all, there was white mermaids, Asian mermaids, Indian mermaids, black mermaids. Everything in that movie, it was like, yes, children should see this because children should be able to see different races of people in theaters on the screen and cohabitating with each other and being peaceful or being able to interact with each other. Like, that's what it's about. It's for children. Your child is not going to be more diminished or feel, you shouldn't project your child feeling left out because the Little Mermaid does not look like your child. There's an animated version of the Little Mermaid that, she's a mermaid. Your logic is backwards. The Little Mermaid will never look like your child because your child does not have a fin tail. If your child has scales and a fin tail, oh my gosh, that made me think of the National Enquirer. When the National Enquirer back in the 90s when I was a kid, they would have like all of these weird stories out there, and it would be like a fish boy, and it would be like stories of sightings of seeing, celebrities that we know are no longer here anymore, like, Sasquatch and all this other stuff. Seriously, I say that to say this. Your child will never be Ariel because your child does not have fins. So let Ariel be Ariel. Let Ariel be whatever color Disney decides to put her in. And honestly, I'm glad that she was black because I got to see a black Disney princess on screen, and I got to see her face for the most part of the movie. Not like how you guys did Princess and the Frog, where she was a frog for most of the movie, but then there were certain sequences where she was actually human. We get to see her the entire film being a Disney princess. And I think that's beautiful. And we also get to see different dynamics and relationships when it comes to the prince, his mother, the castle, the people of the palace. The people of the palace were multicultural. Not everybody looked the same. Not everybody, and that's the world we live in. We do not live in a world where it's just one race of people everywhere. I don't know how sitcoms and television and movies get away with just showing one demographic of people, or if the only time they show another demographic of people is if it's like a period piece, or if it's like set in a certain area where you would find, it would be common to find other races of people. But like there are some productions that are in places like they're shooting scenes that look like you're in New York or look like you're in LA. They're shooting scenes like that, and the scenes that they're shooting, it's like, how you walking down the streets of New York and you haven't run into one Puerto Rican person, you ain't seen one black person, you ain't seen one Southeast Asian person, you ain't seen nobody, and you down the streets of New York. Everybody looks everybody looks the same? Really? Everybody looks the same? There's not one black person? They don't exist? Come on now. So, I mean, it's time for our film and our production, it's time for it to start looking more diverse. Because that's the world we live in, and that's who, let's be honest with it. Not only are we living in a world like that, not only are we cohabitating and doing business like that, but we are having families that are multicultural. There are multicultural families. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. People are blended. So when people take their kids to go see the movies, or when people go to the cinema themselves and they go and they sit in, it's believable. It's believable. People are tired of the awkwardness of, when we go to see, a cinema, when we're going to see a film, we're only seeing one representation, when our child has a clear, open eye view in our home that, mommy's Asian, daddy's black. But when we go to the movies, there's nothing like that looks like either daddy or mommy. It's time out for all of that. And so the Little Mermaid was able to do for this generation of little girls what Brandy Cinderella did for me. Brandy Cinderella, Whoopi Goldberg was the queen, Jason Alexander was the king, the prince was Asian. The late great Whitney Houston was the fairy godmother. Oh my gosh, let me look up her name, because she is like, I love this actress. But I always get her mixed up with Helen Bonham Carter. So, let me see. Because they both have that je ne sais quoi. They both have that, like, I don't know. Bernadette Peters. Bernadette Peters played the stepmother. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, Jason Alexander, he was Lionel. Okay, well, anyways, but Bernadette Peters played that stepmother. I love her acting. Like, it was just diverse. And this movie came out in 97. It came out in 97. And it was like such ahead of its time. And me seeing that as a little kid, that was my favorite Cinderella. Brandy is my favorite Cinderella. And it's not just because it was Brandy and she could sing. Ooh, Brandy could sing. It's not just because it was Brandy. It was Brandy. It was Whitney. It was Whoopi. It was everybody that was in there. It was everything about that film was iconic. And the reason being is because it was a multicultural cast. The prince was Asian. What is his name? Paolo Montalban. Seriously, and he was fine. I'm sorry, but when I was a little kid, I was like, who is that? They got the best Prince Charming they could get. He was fine. So at the end of the day and at the beginning of the sentence, oh, I'm looking here in Disney Plus. They made I'm looking at the remake on Disney Plus. He's still fine. At the end of the day and at the beginning of the sentence, that's the kind of representation that we need when we go into the movies, when we go into the cinema, when we're going to watch them. We want to see everybody included, because when we go to work, when we go out in our neighborhoods, we see everybody. There's not just one monolith of people that are living in, suburban America, or one monolith of people that we're even dating. Everybody is dating and going out and hooking up with everybody. So when you go to the cinema, we want to see that all the kids is mixed up anyways. Let's show them a world that's actually that where they can see a representation of themselves. Let's let the world of the cinema be a part of the world of these kids' reality. These kids are growing up in mixed households, and they have, even if you adopt, you got black parents adopting white kids, and you have, just like in the movie, and you got little kids who are walking around with parents of two different cultures. They have the best of both worlds. We should keep it like that, because that represents our reality. The reality is everybody is mixed up. Everybody's doing what they're doing. Yes, I love black love. I love the representation of black love, but there's more out there than just black love too. And it shows because all of these kids is walking around brown, literally. So at the end of the day and at the beginning of the sentence, we should continue showing a representation of everything and every race. We had a mermaid that was from India. Blew my mind. And I love seeing a representation of people from India in the Little Mermaid. Like, I love that. We had mermaids that were from India. We had mermaids that were from China. We had mermaids that looked like they were from Norway, all interacting with each other. This movie was good. The musical scores were good. They were upbeat. They were modern. There was a little drill in there. I was like, okay, come on, come through. It wasn't corny. I'm be honest with you, it was not corny. I didn't know what to really expect. I just thought it was going to be just another remake. This wasn't corny. It actually had a storyline with dialogue that we could follow. It was a good... King Triton was Latin. Come on now, King Triton. Come on now. Like, it was a good movie. It was a feel-good movie. Everything about it. I loved how there was not only like dialogue in the film, even the parts where, well, I'm not going to tell that part, but I love how there was dialogue, there was emotion, but it didn't feel like overpacked. It didn't feel like jumbled up. It didn't feel like anything like that. What it felt like was, okay, yeah. It felt like this is the sequence. This is the Little Mermaid. It didn't feel like it was replacing the original one. It just felt like it was modernized. And I have to say, this remake is good. It's good. And for me, I think it's better than the original. I do. Because it's something that kids are going to be able to understand, grasp, and kids are not the one asking questions on why the Little Mermaid is black. That's adults. And when your kids go to see this film, they're going to fall in love with a black Little Mermaid, and they're not going to see her color. They're going to see her magic, and they're going to hear her voice, and they're going to resonate with her beauty. Because her beauty represents the innocence of wanting to be a part of the regular world, but having to break down barriers because of the fact that she is so different. And the kids, the sad thing about it, but also the glimmer of hope, the kids are going to have more common sense than the adults are. Because one thing about it, when it comes to innocence and when it comes to the magic of Disney, kids are always going to understand the message and they're going to bypass any of the mess that their parents are trying to protest against. I don't know. But I'm for this one. Bye for now.